Hey, welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put on the Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and I'm podcasting from hotel room out in Vegas. Before I get out of here and get back to California, and Ryan is on the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean here, out in California. The Raiders again did not play well, to say the least, as far as that goes. Did not really do a good job of coming out and doing anything like a team that was fighting for a playoff spot. And now they're kind of really behind the eight ball as far as that goes. And I think the picture is going to get a little bit bigger, a little bit cloudier as we head throughout the season. Ryan, I knew you got a chance to kind of finally get a chance to watch that game, and I watched it, and it was from inside the stadium, and I kind of had like an all 22 view, so you can see, and just like it's, watching these end arounds with a bunch of receivers. I think all three receivers had end arounds. They didn't really, they just didn't push the ball down the field when they had opportunities to. The one time the Raiders did do that, they threw the ball out of bounds. Carr threw the ball out of bounds. Numerous fourth downs that were makeable for the fourth downs, third downs that were just not, not completed or not executed well. What are your thoughts about this game? And this is kind of a microcosm of what we've seen for a long time from Derek.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't see the game live yesterday. I rewatched it this morning, and yeah, some of the similar feelings. I think what the biggest takeaway I have from this game, besides Derek Carr, who once again did not play well for about the third week in a row, is we learned a lot about Rich Bisaccia yesterday as a potential head coaching candidate, and he's kind of old school. He's gearing towards being a special teams coach, wanting to kick short field goals, wanting to punt, not kicking the ball out of bounds on kickoffs, giving the kick return teams. He's trying to show his prowess on special teams, and it's costing this team right now. He had three opportunities in the first half inside the 50 to go for it on fourth and short, punted it every time. After the third and one, end around in the early second half to Bryan Edwards. I don't know why you're running Bryan Edwards on the jet sweep. That's a conversation we have another day. But he's got fourth and inches basically in midfield. He punts again. I believe the score was 10-6 at that point. Yep. And he just never really went for it on fourth down. Like you have to take risks on fourth down in today's NFL. And he's showing us that his game management skills just aren't up to par to being a head coach. And unfortunately to me, if I was in his situation, you're in this league for 20, 30 years and you want this opportunity and you just go about as conservative as you possibly can in meaningful games. That's not how you become a head coach. Be aggressive, go for it. Like, go for it more than you probably should. Try to earn the job. And he's showing us week in and week out now that he just can't handle it. Game management's not his strong suit. Yep. And if we get back to the offense just can't convert a third down. They converted the first third down against the Chiefs, the last third down against the Bengals, and basically went 8 quarters in between without converting a third down. 2 out of 16 on third downs and running 47 plays on offense is just not good enough. And I don't want to hear excuses about the receivers, the offensive line, the running game. It all starts and ends with the quarterback. He's in third and manageable. We're not talking 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. We're talking 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5. And we're just not picking them up. And to me, that's unacceptable in today's football with all the motions, all the shifts, all the personnel usage you have. And this offense has literally become option routes for Waller and Renfro. And if they're not open, dump it off. And I don't blame Zay Jones or Bryan Edwards. And I'll have to see the all 22 again. But this offense isn't designed to work the ball outside the numbers to anybody. So I'm going to hold judgment on those two. Now, they're not world burner beaters. They're not the best wide receivers in the league, but we'll never know unless you actually throw them the ball when you get one-on-one. And teams have figured it out. The minute Ruggs went off the field, they're bringing safeties down and they're doubling Waller and Renfro. And Carr's just not giving those outside guys a chance at all. And the separation factor, these guys aren't getting 3 to 5 yard separation, but when you have one-on-one, throw it up, give them a chance, pass interference. Things can happen. Don't throw it out of bounds like he did to Zay Jones when he had to step on that deep ball down the sideline. The one time he did throw a deep ball. To me, and then
which he still
for
caught.
some reason,
which he actually still caught.
and for some reason, the camera just kept going to the sideline. Derek Carr's sitting there with a stoic look on his face, like he's uninvested in this. He's just sitting there like okay, it's Sunday, I guess I have to be there, which is the exact opposite feeling you get from him being in the building and his passion for the Raiders and the organization. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but his body language yesterday was horrible. And the offense played basically what his body language showed. So the defense did about as much as they could. They held Mixon in check until late in the fourth quarter. I mean, this game was 16-13 in the fourth quarter. Yeah, they put up 19 points, but the offense turned the ball over twice. And then they returned a kick to basically the 40-yard line. So I'm not going to beat the defense to death on this game. They did what you kind of expect them to do. They gave the offense every opportunity to win this game. The offense just wanted no part of it.
Yeah, and like here's my thing with the whole like he can whatever's going on behind the scenes, I really don't care at this point, because at the end of the day, this is supposed to be your team, and this is a team that before yesterday had a really good shot. As long as you're in that 4-loss category, you have a chance to go to the playoffs. For weeks and weeks, teams around them who needed to lose have lost games. So you're not taking advantage of that. It's just you being just. I mean, his life would change dramatically if he actually took a team to the playoffs. It would make everything around him be, a lot better. We can have a clearer view of what he could be, but he's not even taking chances. I'm telling you, like watching that and watching him drop back to pass and seeing the numerous plays thrown behind the line of scrimmage, it is like gut wrenching to watch the plays being thrown behind the line of scrimmage consistently. I'm sitting there watching and hoping, and I'm hoping that Levitt actually scores on the touchdown, because I know when the ball could have been at the 1-yard line, the Raiders would have found a way not to score a touchdown in that moment. I mean, people who are car apologists didn't even. How do you not even mention the fact that the first time he touched the football, they had the ball at the 9-yard line, and they never pressed the line of scrimmage. I mean the goal line. I mean, I don't know how you have Waller, who is just like Waller. You have Edwards. You have guys who can. The first time they threw a jump ball in the end zone, of course, Foster Moreau came down with it. The defensive players cannot play the ball in the air. Like you're gonna get a pass interference, or maybe you're not, because you look at the penalties, probably won't get a pass interference. But but you have an opportunity to make plays down the field, and you don't give them a chance. And I think the moment in the game where I lost my proverbial, lost my mind, is when they brought all the safeties in the box. The box is full of Bengals. On the left side, you have Deshaun Jackson one-on-one with the corner. You have to take that shot. And the whole feet. He had he had a 9 route. You could have run a post. I mean, there's no way. The way that I should have took a picture of it, and you'll see it on the L22 when you get it. But like, we'll have to screenshot it and put out there. There was no way the safety is going to make a play on that. Like it's just wide open for you. And if you have a quarterback who's not going to be willing to take that chance, then what are we paying you for? Like what are the Raider fans paying your salary for? Because it was that was when like the one play in the game that just drove me crazy. And I knew he's not. It was just a joke to sit there and watch that for a whole Sunday. And I felt bad because the stadium was ready to explode for the Raiders, and then the Raiders just did not turn the favor. At least the Raider offense didn't.
Yeah, the two plays that jump out to me were the third down around midfield where Carr checked into the run to Drake on 3rd and 6 when there was Bengals in the box too. It's not like they had a look that was going to give it to him. And then I want to say when they crossed midfield, it was another 3rd down where he was in the shotgun. He had Drake to his left. He brought Drake up into the A or B gap, like expecting like a linebacker to come. There was no one in that hole, like showing like, hey, I'm coming. We need to blue this. So it was some cute little play that Greg Olsen or someone came up with, like, let's fake like he's blocking, then try to run a swing screen to him on 3rd and 4. Even if they complete that pass, he's tackled for a loss. Like he's not getting the first down. But the whole play just seemed weird to me because I'm like, hey, they're not double mugging the A gap. Like there's no potential linebacker coming here. Like why are they moving him up? And then to see the play they ran out of that. This league comes down to 3rd downs. Like offensively, the good coordinators can scheme guys open. The good quarterbacks make plays on 3rd down. They win. On defense, you're in base practice, basically 1st, 2nd down. Who's creative? Who can scheme stuff on 3rd down? Those teams win. I watched the the game, and the Raiders basically ran the same 2 or 3 covers they've run all season. They didn't show Joe Burrow anything new. It was basically, we're going to play cover 3, and then when we have to play man, we're going to play cover 1 cross, and we're just going to put a safety in the middle of the field. And it's not going to work at this point. We're 8, 9 games into the season, 10 games into the season. There's film on everything. You need new stuff. You need to be creative. And this offense is basically boiled down to this point. It's just, okay, we're going to go option route for Renfro, option route for Waller, option route for running back out of the backfield. And those take time. Like Carr and those receivers, running backs have to be on the same page. He's got to stare them down for quite a while to figure out where the leverage is going to be and which way they're going to break and then throw it. And at the meantime, like, teams aren't even paying attention to the outside receivers at this point. I wouldn't think. I'll be shocked. But from the television copy, it seemed like Cincinnati played a lot of single high safety. And if they're going to play single high, let it fly. That's kind of the saying. Yeah. If they're not going to play 2 back there, you got to. Even if the guy is running stride for stride, because you pretty much it's in your favor to get a pass interference or a catch. It very rarely are those balls going to be intercepted unless they're just completely poorly thrown. And you know, at this point, they're 5-5. They're not in the playoff picture. You can say they're in the hunt, but now they're losing AFC games. They're falling down the conference standings.
Yeah.
And they've gone through the easy stretch of their schedule. Now they're staring at the Cowboys on Thursday. Washington football team is on a roll right now. Taylor Heineke's playing really well. And then you got Kansas City, Cleveland, and Indianapolis shortly thereafter. Like, the Raiders figure out a way to win 4 or 5 games down the stretch here. And I just don't know if they're going to do that.
Yeah, I don't feel like they're in any position to do that at all. They're just not. Especially when you have a head coach who's just not. Listen, the quarterback is not playing well. The head coach, all I heard. Where are all these where are all the plays down the field? Ruggs was an important part of the offense. I'm not going to sit there and say he wasn't, but can we relax and act like he's not Randy? He wasn't Randy Moss. Like, this dude is not one of the best deep threats ever in the history of the game. You can play football without Ruggs. You got me?
I'm sorry, you cut out for a second. I missed a little bit of that.
Yeah, so as far as Ruggs goes, Ruggs was a dynamic player, but we're sitting there acting like he's like Randy Moss. He's not to that level, and he wasn't the entire offense. There's teams who function. Justin Jefferson gets deep all the time. Guess what? He's not a burner. You know what I mean? I don't even know what Bryan Edwards is because they won't let me see him. Nobody will let me see whether he can make plays. The ball that's underthrown. Can he make an adjustment and make that play? Like Justin Jefferson did on that play yesterday against the Packers. Can I see a back shoulder? Can I see all those plays don't require you to be. Can I see him in the post? Did they even run the play last week that he ran a touchdown for? But if they ran it, would he have thrown it anyway? You know what I'm saying? Would he let it develop? He always gives you that one drive where you say, "Oh wow." And I turned to my friend who said, who I went to the game with. I said, "Watch, they're gonna go down 16-3, and then it's gonna be a three play touchdown, and you're gonna say, what the hell was that all game?" And of course, boom, 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 2 plays to Waller, 1 play to Moreau. The linebacker was clueless on that play to Moreau. You could have been isolating those plays all day. He does not want to throw the football. What Renfro and Waller give you in the middle should open up something for those guys on the outside. And we never get a chance to see how good they are on the outside because of the fact that he just won't give them the football. I would not refusal at this point.
Yeah, and it's the whole, Carr needs to build trust with these guys, but he's had Bryan Edwards for 2 years. He's had Zay Jones in this offense for 2.5 years. If we go the route of Carr staying and drafting a wide receiver, can we wait 2 more years? Or if we sign a free agent, can we wait 3 years for him to throw those guys the ball? I don't think he can. And, Ruggs was a part of this offense. Clearly, those outside receivers are basically running clear out routes to pull coverage from the middle of the field and from the deep middle of the field so those guys can work underneath. And teams are still rotating safeties over the top a little bit, but not as much as they were. But what they're really doing is they're muddying up the middle of the field because they know that if you look at Derek Carr's pass chart, everything was in the middle of the field yesterday, unless it was in the flats. There was nothing into the intermediate outside the hashes on either side of the field. And then the interception he threw, it looked like it was basically just cover two. The corner was on Jones, basically just fell off, sunk right into that, and Carr threw it right to him for the interception. It's just you can't make those mistakes at this point. You can't make those mistakes at this point in your career, especially in these kind of games in the biggest stages when you need wins. They had a chance to have 2 games at home to build some momentum here heading down the stretch, and they just basically fumbled the ball. And it just comes like the big thing to me is it comes back to third down, and this is feeling a lot like Derek Carr early in his career, first, second, third year, and give him a pass. I mean, he had Rod Streeter at that point, James Jones at the end of his career, but he has weapons now. I don't want to hear about Henry Ruggs anymore. He's not on this team. Brian Edwards is a serviceable wide receiver. Zay Jones is a serviceable wide receiver. Deshaun Jackson can get involved and be a threat. Foster Moreau, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, those guys are options. And if you have to at this point, put Kenyon Drake out a wide receiver and try to run some routes. But I saw a couple of times where they were running like there was like a 2-yard check down in the flat to Jacobs, and he had Waller on that side of the field, and Waller runs a hitch and go. I don't know why you're asking your tight end to run a hitch and go, because he runs a hitch and he's wide open by like 4 yards. The corner falls off, and then he spins out of it to try to go up the sideline. He's not open. Are you trying to clear a 2-yard check down in the flat? And these teams now in the running game, they're just coming downhill. They're like, okay, if the Raiders show any sort of run, they're not falling for play action at all. The Bengals were like, we're shutting this run down. We don't even care. We're coming downhill the minute. And then the offensive line, there was some, just some missed blocks, some missed assignments. I've always wondered the last couple of weeks, I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, kind of their double teams on some of these zone runs where the 3 technique is there's a 3 technique lined up to the outside of the guard, and the center's coming down to try to help when the guard already has leverage on the guy. Like he's lined up on his outside shoulder. Yeah. You just got to turn him.
Exactly.
And they're not getting to the second level. And Marcus Johnson from Take Online put out the first play of the game. Same thing to Peyton Barber. There was no reason for Andre James to help Alex Leatherwood on that. He should just climb to the second level. And I think they're getting taught that. I think that could go back to something to do with the scheme. It just doesn't make sense at this point. I thought overall the offensive line played well enough. They played fine to win this game. The sack at the end of the game with the fumble, in my opinion, Trey Hendrickson lined up off sides pretty bad, like worse than Quentin Jefferson did when Jefferson got called for it. And then Colton Miller looked inside at the snap for some reason and then just got beat around the corner, but that should have been a clear offsides penalty. But, the defense, I will say they do need to clean up the penalties. Third down, getting off the field and then getting silly penalties like the roughing the passer. And I don't know if I agree with that call, but it's still, you can't take a step and a half and put a hand on a quarterback. You just can't do it. The face on one, I don't agree with that. The pass interference on face on, I'm not sure I agree with that either, because he had outside leverage. Higgins was trying to run that out route on him, and he kind of ran into him and stumbled. I don't think Faison really did anything egregious, but you just can't get penalties on third downs to extend drives. And then they were just on the field for 77 or 80 plays. It was a lot.
There was a lot. It was a lot. There was a lot to imagine. And I think that I don't know. Nobody ever wants to, and nobody ever wants to kind of go into the conspiracy world as far as this goes, but like, how many times, I don't understand how many times the Raiders can play an opponent and that opponent either has 0 or 1 penalty. Like, that is something that you brought to my attention too. And I'm watching the game the first time through and I'm watching for plays and everything, but like, that is something where it's like, it's crazy to me. Like, it's absolutely unbelievable that like the Raiders are like continuously, kind of in that realm where the opponent they're playing, and you're watching their offensive line play and how they try to guard, how they try to block Ngakoue or Crosby, and there's not clean. It's not. There's definitely some holding penalties. Definitely some plays where you can definitely, especially on short yardage. They're actually doing a good job of like getting through on short yardage, and they get tackled, and it's just like, forget about it. Like we're not gonna blow the whistle here as far as that goes, which is kind of crazy. Crazy football talk as far as that goes. I don't know how every opponent the Raiders have 1 penalty the entire game.
No, it's something that I've been paying attention to the last couple of years. It's mostly the first half. The Raiders will go through the first half, and their opponents will get 0-1 penalty pretty consistently week to week. The Raiders deserve some of the penalties they got yesterday. I'm not going to say that, but for a team to go through a whole game and get called for one penalty for neutral zone infraction, when I didn't post it a lot yesterday. The Chiefs' offensive line could have been called for 10+ penalties last week with holding and hands to the face, nothing. There were some special team penalties on the Bengals, some blocks in the back, some holds down the field that weren't called. The Raiders did not lose this game because of the officials. But,
did not. No question.
Just looking at the net beneficiary count this year, the Raiders are negative 23, which is second worst in the league. So you basically have the same officials for both teams every week in these games. I've called 23 more penalties, except the penalties on the Raiders than they have on the other team. And I just don't see how that's possible. I mean, they're not. And it doesn't, and the broadcast was even worse. Ian Eagle and Charles Davis just trashing the Raiders, basically like, stupid penalty. How do you keep doing this? How do you keep doing that? At the end of the day, like, the coaches have changed, the players have changed, everything's changed. But the one thing that's consistent is that they just keep getting called for all these infractions, and their opponents don't. And we've seen the study, but at the end of the day, the Raiders just have to stand up. Adversity's come. It's here. Yeah. And this team is wilting quickly. They've played their 2 worst games of the year, basically, the last 2 weeks. And that's the 3rd game this season, if you count the Bears games, where they just basically laid an egg at home. And you can't do that. You have to win home games in the NFL to make the playoffs. And I want to say 5-9 the last 2 years in that new stadium. And I wasn't there. You were there. But I can't imagine the Bengals fans outnumbered anything in the past. That might have been the smallest opposing fan.
Without question. Season. And then somebody told us something about the stadium. There were very few empty seats. There wasn't a lot of empty seats in that building. So I know somebody posted that the other day about there really wasn't that many, and I just never seen that many Bengal fans in my life. So I think I texted you. I said, "Oh, there's a lot of orange here," but when everybody sat down, it wasn't really that much. It wasn't really that much orange at all. It really wasn't any anyway. Yeah. So as far as that goes, it's a quick reaction to the Raiders' loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. And just so many factors in this game that really kind of just bother you as a fan. It is very difficult, but it starts with the quarterback. And I mean, I just don't even, I know people are going to say you can say whatever you want. I just feel like, this is a time where we have to kind of really look hard about what they're going to do at this position in the future, because he's not, are you somebody who says, because I guess last week, both of them, both Mariota and Carr reportedly took snaps, took first team snaps. Is that just, do you feel like there's a time where, almost protect the asset? If you plan on maybe possibly trading Derek Carr, you might want to think about. Yeah, I'm just saying, if he tears the ACL and he's in his last part of the season, he's out for a year, and you can't really do anything with him.
Yeah, I'd say under normal circumstances that could be a thought line, but you have basically a GM who's fighting for his job and interim coaches who are fighting for their job. So I don't see any way that they bench Derek Carr this year if he's healthy. They're going to do everything they can to try to keep those jobs. Big picture, you have to look at it, though, and you start looking at this roster. And like I said, the timelines don't match up. The Raiders don't have the roster to compete with the Chiefs or the Chargers in the near future, in the next 2 to 3 years. They need draft picks. They need assets. They've missed on Ruggs and Arnett for whatever reason. And we can go down the list of, Abram won't be on this team much longer. Farrell's going to be gone. Jacobs is a question mark. Robertson might be gone. Isaiah Johnson's gone. Muse is gone. Lynn Bowden's gone. There is no cheap young assets, developmental players on this roster where they can go out and get a piece or two. If you're in the off season right now, you need a right tackle, you need a center, you need another guard who's going to stay healthy. Because in my opinion, John Simpson hasn't run away and shown you that he can be a starter. You probably pencil him in as a backup. So you need 3 pieces on the offensive line. You need a swing tackle. You need at least 1 more wide receiver, probably 2. What do you do with Drake? And that's before you get to the defensive line, when basically the entire defensive tackle room are free agents. What do you do with Perryman? You bring him back. I believe you do, but then you need another guy that can play in coverage. You're probably going to lose Littleton and Kwiatkowski for cap reasons if you can save a little money. What do you do at corner? Do you re-sign Hayward? you need a young guy on the outside. You have face on trying to. Hopefully, Mullen comes back. What do you do to fill Abrams' job? Do you think it's Diablo or Gillespie? The Raiders are going to have, out of the 20, let's just say 22 starting spots on offense and defense, you probably have 10 question marks. You need draft picks. You're not going to fill all those in one off season. And the only way they can build a roster now is through free agency, because they don't have the assets in the draft. And if you have a quarterback who's going to get a $35 million extension, guess what? You're not filling all those holes. And I just think it's time. Like, Derek Carr, the timeline is not there. If we wait another 3 or 4 years, he's 34 years old. By the time the roster's up, it's just not worth it at this point. Get Mariota some serious here or there. If you need to bring Mariota back as a guy next year to battle for the starting job just to see what you have, I'm okay with that. But I don't believe right now, if this team goes in the tank and wins 2 games and finishes 7-10, I don't think Derek Carr's on this team next year.
Yeah, I don't know. And they have to catch fire, and the body of work doesn't show that he would catch fire at any point in the second half of the season. Like, it's just not going to happen. 2016 is a long time away, and that was the outlier season. It wasn't. I mean, I'm looking at Twitter right now. Our good friend, our buddy at Phil Jones NFL, 70 fumbles in 8 years. 70 fumbles in 8 years. I mean, that's just.
Yeah. And to me, the whole we'll replace him with who that's better. We need to look past that. He's probably, the 13th or 14th best quarterback in the league. Are you going to get a top 10 quarterback to replace him? No, you're not. But like I said, they need to rebuild the roster. The Gruden era too, and I was on board with it. I was wrong. All those draft picks were basically squandered. All the free agency brought in didn't pan out for the most part. The ones that are on this team now are on 1-year deals.
Yep.
And when you just look around the landscape of the AFC and you start looking at the teams, it's up in the air, but there's a lot of teams that are positioned at the quarterback position right now that have better rosters than the Raiders. And I don't think you can just throw duct tape on this team in the offseason and expect them to win 10 or 11 games. I just don't. So to me, you take a step back, get assets, and hopefully 2 or 3 years from now, you build up this roster like was supposed to happen when Gruden took over. They're going to have to step back at this point. Trying to chase 9 or 10 wins and finishing in the middle of the pack is not ideal. Like, you need to basically have a 4 or 5 win season here, get some higher draft picks and hit on them, because that's the only way they're turning this roster around. They're not trading for a quarterback outside of Russell Wilson if the stars align, or Deshaun Watson, but I don't think Mark Davis would go for that. They're not signing a free agent quarterback. Those guys, franchise quarterbacks, don't hit the market. And I just don't think, in Derek Carr's defense, he's basically given this organization everything he can. Let him go somewhere else and see if he can win for his own career and his own legacy, because I just don't think it's going to happen in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can kind of wrap on that part of it. I don't, like I said, I think the only option you might have would be a Russell Wilson to see what's going on there. I think at some point they got to think about what they want to do up there in Seattle, but that's about the only viable quarterback specific position that I can see them going after. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. I think it's for me where Aaron Rodgers, I think it's more like just Denver or maybe which would be a nightmare. Anyway, but like at that point, blow it up. I mean, if you get Aaron Rodgers in Denver, then like what's the point of even? You might as well just put out whoever at quarterback at that point. And but like tying up a lot of money with Derek Carr doesn't make a lot of sense, especially with the way he has pieces. So like this whole idea of like, and some of the stuff he said after the press conference kind of bothered me as well. Like, don't try to come back at it. Now, if it's on you, it's on you. Don't put on anybody else as far as dinner plans and whatever. If I get off of work at 4 or 5 o'clock, who cares where I go to eat dinner at 8 o'clock? Like, as far as that goes, that's not something you want to kind of put on your teammates as well, all of a sudden out of nowhere. So, all right, quick reaction to the Raiders loss. I think we're going to wrap it up here for that one. We'll have the full show later in the week. And if we don't see you, have a good Thanksgiving. It should be. I mean, this is one Thanksgiving I wish the Raiders. Every Thanksgiving I used to say, "Oh, it'd be cool if the Raiders were on." I just really wish they don't. I really wish that game was not on at all. I mean, even with all the injuries the Cowboys have, that's going to be ugly. That's going to be an ugly game.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard. I feel if they're down Cooper, who's out, and if CeeDee Lamb doesn't come back from concussion protocol. You're going to see a lot of their tight ends over the middle of the field and a lot of those running backs trying to eat.
And the worst part about it is they'll do just enough to keep you interested until like the end of the third quarter, and then it'll be you don't want to be.
I just want some third downs on Thanksgiving. I'll be thankful for third down conversions this week.
Can I just have 35% on third down? 35%, because I mean 1 for 9, 1 for 10, whatever they were this weekend was even worse. But I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, and take care. We'll see you next time.
Take care. All right. Have a safe flight.